Okay guys, welcome. I wanted to do a demo for you guys today, and I just want to talk a little bit about how to approach your old decrepit house. Okay, the right way to do it versus the wrong way to do it. Um, I went home and I grabbed my finished set here, but I grabbed the one that was already broken apart. I meant to grab the one that I originally started with. So one of the keys I want to tell you right now is don't build it all broken up into pieces. Build it as a legitimate straight house that looks brand new. Then when that's done, you go in there and you spend a couple hours and you move things around and tilt them. The reason for that madness is that if I select something right here, and if I go into part of my outliner and I start looking at some of my groupings, okay, things have tilts on them right now. See, they're grouped together when they were at a 90-degree angle. That's really, really important. So you want to build your house from a key flush view at 90-degree angles, then go in there and you can start, altering it and moving things around. So when I select, for example, a part of the steeple, if I select the top or the middle section right here, you can see I have a tilt on this of like 8 degrees, and I've tilted other things in there. You want to have a key original where the house is brand new. Why is that? If you go in there and you start tilting things and grouping it, everything's going to be off kilter. Nothing's going to have the same sort of base. Start with sort of a brand new upright house, then go in and start changing it. Okay, that'd be my advice for you. And I'll probably splice into this. I'll upload it at home, do a quick 2-minute demo about that, and put that in here. But everything that you're looking at here that I've gone in and it was completely upright, and then I changed it. I punched a little hole in the roof, okay, so I could see those little wooden beams, okay, the sticking through there, the 2x4s. I did that over here. I have a 2x4 popping out. I made some little changes, but before you even get there, the key thing that you want to do is you want to start off with just blocky shapes. Now, one of our students up here in the front, Hung, he's done a good job. He's already blocked in his base Victorian house with, Ed has done it, and I think, Hung, you were doing something similar, but they've already blocked in base shapes, okay, and then they're going in that and you start putting details. So what I wanted to do in the demo today is I just wanted to show you my set, sort of go around, show you my approach, but then at the same time I wanted to talk about a couple of the key details that you can make. You want to save yourself time on this, okay? So let me just zoom in here and I'll show you a couple of things that I had to make. You see this? I made one post right here. That's it. One light up there. Okay, I made one brick wall here. This is just a simple poly right here. Okay, I wanted it low res because I know it's going to have a lot of them, but I didn't want to rely on a texture. I wanted to be able to see the difference between a top and a bottom, the way real stones act when they're sitting on top of each other. I could probably do that as a texture, but take a little bit more work. This is really lightweight. One of these is only 70 vertices. Now, I did smooth it 3 times in terms of a bevel edge. I probably would have only done that twice, but in this particular show, there's going to be a scene where we're right up on the outside of this gate where somebody was trying to break in there. Now, that was the script description, so I had to have a gate there. You don't have to have a gate on yours, okay? I made one of these poles right here with one of these tops to it, okay? I made this sort of old-looking wall here. That is a NURB surface right there that I've made from taking a simple round shape curve, turning it into a box, and then lofting it across. And so the reason why I did that is when I wanted to curve it back here, see this? Let me show you. Just by hitting Shift D, oops, it must have moved by accident. Let me move that up just a little bit here. Okay. It's connected. Hold on a second. Let me grab the vertices right here. I can move that back up. There we go. So by hitting Shift D, I have my wall shifting all over, which is okay. It's a little bit higher and lower on one side than the other, to give the illusion that it's falling apart and it's all sort of decrepit and everything. But the reason why I did that is when I just duplicated this, I was able to get a nice curve. And you see how that wall piece works on the top? Again, I just don't have one wall that ends. I have a top curve piece to it. I can show you how I made that little wall piece just by taking a really basic, simple NURBS curve, pinching the corners into a square, duplicating those along, just like we did with the roller coaster, hitting Shift D and getting them to move automatically in a pattern, and then I just made a little elbow, and then I just went ahead and sort of, lofted or just extruded them all together, really simple, and it was finished. Okay, so What I wanted to do, even my trees, let me show you how easy the trees are. Do you see that? That's a rough, simple poly right there. It's only 480 vertices. When I hit 3, it smooths very nice. Okay, when I hit 1 and go back to it, it's just a little little poly that I split off of and extruded the branches outward really thin. That's how I made the tree. Then I duplicated that and made a couple different versions of them. So when they're all smoothed up, they look very nice and sort of old, and you just see them like this in the house, and you see them around the side and the back. Sort of incorporates that feel of when we think of dead trees, we think of a dead winter, we think of something scary, right? So on. Okay. Now, let me go ahead. I want to come over here. I want to show you some core parts that I started off with that I reused. Okay. You're not going to have to model every window. You want to think smart here. Okay. I modeled one front door, which is right here. Okay. I started off with just a base poly in here. I beveled the edges of it because in my script, when I worked on this for a show, the door was going to open up and it was going to be seen, so I wanted to have beveled edges on it. It was going to be used and animated. Okay. I have a simple handle here. Now, when I did my research, I on purposely placed a person right here for my scale. I built this little individual and I slide him over. There's a reason for that. When I looked at my reference, I noticed that on these big mansions, the door handles tended to be up a little bit higher. They tend to be up around the chest level. They're not down below like a normal door in your house is at about at your waist level, okay? And they tend to have these really sort of long, sort of gigantic handles on them. Oops, that didn't look good. We don't want to smooth that, right? No. Give me a second here. I keep hitting the wrong button. There we go. That was smooth, and that's smooth like that. All right. So and I made this little curvy handle there. This is a simple. That's a little plate right back here. That goes on top. It's really simple. Let's take a look at this. This is just a simple frame. It has a beveled edge around it. Right. Nothing fancy. I came in here and I just took a really simple, lightweight cylinder that only probably has about 5 sides to it. Usually I delete the back side because I'm not going to see it. Okay, and then I just turn it at an angle and I move them across and I made that pattern right there. Yes, I could do that as a texture. Since I was going to be up close on this door opening, I wanted us to be able to see that felt like a real piece, because in my script I had some action taking place right front in here and then up here by the front door, plus this sort of large establishing view. Okay, so I had 3 key shots that I had to work towards. All right, so I did the front door. I took parts of the front door and I reused those parts. You see this lower piece of trim right here? Okay, that's nothing fancy. If I bring that over, let's pull it off here. Let me zoom into it and show you. Okay, it was a simple bullion that I did, and then I smoothed the edges, and then I did a bullion in the middle to get that interior shape done. That's it. It's nothing fancy. You can do that in about 3 moves. Okay, I could take a square, bullion cylinders around the outside of it, and then after that's done, I went around and selected it, the edges, and then I put a nice beveled edge on it, and then before I got to the beveled edge, I duplicated the shape to save it so I could do a bullion in the middle right there. Okay, so it took me about 4 steps and I made that shape. I reused that shape because it's very similar to sort of Victorian detail, and if you look over here, you'll see it up there. See it on the top of the house? Okay, I reuse lots of shapes all over throughout my model here. Okay, I modeled one railing right here. I bent it there. I used that same railing up here. Okay, model smart, so I don't have to model all these different parts. When I come back over here and take a look at what I did model, okay, let me zoom in here real quick. Look, I modeled a little ledge right here to have under my window. Why? Windows have little ledges. It's really simple. And then I took that ledge and I expanded it. I just grabbed the vertices, pulled it down, and made a thicker ledge. Okay, Victorian houses have tons of trim detail everywhere. Okay, nothing too fancy. I came along here, I made this little curve right here. You see that? It's very low poly. It's 200 vertices. I could even go back in if I wanted to and delete a couple edges in there. Okay, I use that everywhere in my house because there are arches. Let me zoom back over to the house. there are arches all inside Victorian architecture like that. Now, on this project, this show, I had to simplify it a little bit, where I didn't want to go too crazy with the Victorian architecture, but I needed to sort of bring meet it in the middle somewhere where it's descriptive, but it was also sort of simplified. If I got too detailed, it'd be too realistic and wouldn't really match the style of the show. Okay, so, and then I have, like, if we look over here, okay, I have the basic, this is just talking about that. The two planes that I used before on other windows, okay, the ledges right there, a thinner one, a larger one. I have this trim down below, really simple, not too hardcore. I have a simple window frame, okay, and then I have a simple window right here. I made one of these that I've duplicated numerous times and then just stretch it and contort it to make other windows. So what I thought I'd do right now is I'll pause real quick and then I'm going to come in and do a demo on how to make the windows. That way you guys can sort of walk yourself through the same steps. It's not that complicated. All you have to do is make one good window, and then you could reuse it numerous times. Okay, and then the same thing with making a little arch. Now, when you look at that arch, I had to make this pretty quickly. That's just a really simple, if we come over here, that's a polygon torus that's widened out, and I thinned it and deleted the lower half and just put it up on the top of it. If I wanted to get something very specific, I could have taken these edges and I could have scaled the vertices together a little bit more. In fact, I could do that right now to show you. See, I could come in here, select over these, and if I go to my scale tool and I bring them in a little bit tighter, I can get much more of a hard edge. It was fine. They were happy having the round edges on there. I didn't want to have too many straight edges. I wanted some round edges because I was going to have lots of straight edges on the window. So when we bring up your reference and you take a look, so when you look at my finished piece here, you don't see half of that detail. The eye catches the little shapes in the detail. And then if you were up close in the original scene, okay, if I zoom in there, the camera was framed around here, the camera was framed around the opening, and just one establishing shot. That's it, okay? So you don't have to put a ton of detail on the back roof. What's important is a silhouette shape that's going to read, okay? It's a silhouette shape of that steeple that's going to read. The fact that part of it's cracked in half, there's 2x4s. It's the fact we can see through this, or see through some of that, or we can see the large tree shape in the back there. It's the key read that's important. So when you go back and take a look at some of this, one of the problems why this isn't as successful, I just found this on the internet, is that the house is brand new. See that? It hasn't been broken down at all. It's been painted on top of, but basically the yard is overgrown, there's weeds everywhere, the fence is demolished, this base is tilted over. But we look at the house is like pristine. It's a little dirty, that's it. All right? This is a photo that was doctored, but once we get in there, you start getting a broken window, you start getting beams that are coming apart, falling apart. That's the look we're going for. Still, there should be things tilted here at counter angles and contrapposto. We talked about that in the last demo. That's what's such great about this reference. Look at the tilt that's here. Now, I just grabbed this reference, but when you look at mine, I already knew that from my days of drawing, okay, and being around talented artists. Look at all these posts at different angles right here. They add character to it. It's the same principle that's right here, okay? So take a look at your reference. That's what I liked about this one here. See, there's some things that are tilted, that are falling apart. Save that for the very end. Make all the detail first. I'd rather have a detailed house. It only takes an hour or two to go in and tilt things and move it around. But the key, like I said, just to remind you about that, is the grouping. You want everything grouped together so it's a lot easier to turn and move around when they're at 90s. And then when you turn it, now it's just at a -10. So you can always alter that, duplicate it, reuse it. Once you turn something and then group it, it's a total different world of pain and suffering because it takes a lot longer to group everything together. Okay? So that's, we talked about our reference yesterday. In the other demo, we talked about counter angles. I just wanted to bring my set into you and show you how I sort of piece this together. Okay, I made one light post here. That's a pretty basic shape right there when it's smoothed up. That's a basic shape, not when it's smooth. Okay, when it's here is number one. Okay, but I didn't need to do anything. I just left it simple. It's a rough poly shape. From far away, we don't see any edges. It looks round. I'm done. Okay, it's lightweight. It's only 150 vertices finished. Okay, so that's how I sort of came up with the set. I had restrictions I had to work on when I was working on this stuff. In fact, let me tell you, when I look at that set right here, sorry, my desktop is a total mess here. Let me come over here. It's a 40 megabyte set. Most of my sets and locations that I worked on had to be around 50 and under, and I try to bring some of them under 40. So this had some close-up interaction. I try to keep it low. 40 megabytes isn't too heavy of a set. Okay, and I could even thin down stuff in here. If I took out the fence, thin down a couple of the trees, and adjusted it a little bit more, I could even knock it down to probably about 30 megabytes. That's great. That's a workable set once we start throwing in texturing, rendering, lighting, and this already has lights in it too, so it's 40 megabytes. See, watch. If I hit display, show, and it show lights, see how those lights everywhere? That's what sort of illuminated up. And I know I haven't talked about lighting. I could do a little demo for you on that a little bit later, but there's some basic lights there that give me a particular feel. Let me undo them. I just don't want you to see all of them right now. Okay, so let me pause the demo real quick, and then what I'm going to do is come over here and talk about how to make a window and a door for the rest of the day, and then we'll render that off. Now, the roof. What is my roof right here? It's a basic poly. There's two shells to it. There was an inner shell right here. Okay, let me pull it out for you real quick. There's an inner shell that I punched a hole in later. Okay, I have an outer edge to it. Why? Because there's always wood overhangs that extend out. So I have an outer edge that comes there. Then I went onto that outer edge and I took some NURBS and I created this trim detail. Why? Victorian reference has tons of trim detail around it. I just duplicated my little NURBS curve. I moved it around the edge. I only had to make a couple of those and then I reused them. So whatever I had on that side, I would duplicate and move to this side. The only reason why that side doesn't have any right now is because it's sticking into the side of a house right here. I don't need it in there. Okay. We talked about multi-level roof structures. Look at the lower roof here for the parking garage that you drive under. Okay, there's a higher roof, a secondary roof, and then you have the high steeple there. Okay, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different roof structures. Okay, I like prime numbers for designing. I think they're great. All right, none of those roofs are at the same level. This one here is at a tilt. The second one here is at a different angle at a tilt. They're all at different levels. If you give me a roof and it's like this, perpendicular, just like a T, and it's just sitting there, it's going to look boring. It's not going to look interesting. Okay? All right. Let me pause the recorder, and then I'll go over here and I'll start making another window and some other trim detail to show you how you can use that to your benefit to throw into your set. All right? I'll be right back. Okay, guys, welcome back. So I'm going to start doing a window right now, and whenever I start to work, I always like to do this. I create my core primitives that I'm going to use, and I put them in front like this. And the reason why I keep them here is that I can touch one of them, and I can alter it any way that I want, duplicate it, and work off of the duplicate if I like. That way I have access to the inputs at all times, and I could be modifying those as I go. So what I mean by that, for example, let's say I wanted a sphere, but I want it lower resolution. I can just touch this one right now. I could come over here and I could tell it to go down to, let's say 12 spans, and now I have it, and now I can duplicate it. I can bring it over, and then that way if I hit smooth, I have a smooth sphere, but it's much lower resolution. In its original shape, it's much lower. But once I duplicate it, I can't go back in and manipulate any of the inputs. So we all know that. So if you want to create a new shape and want to be able to manipulate the inputs as you're working, of course, start with a brand new one. This is a way that I've been working for a while, where I like to just have these core primitives and I can quickly duplicate them and use them to my benefit. Okay, so let's start here. I have a simple cube. I'm going to take this cube right now. I'm going to turn it here 90 degrees. I'm going to start making like a base doorway, and I want to show you the way that I like to think about this stuff when I work on it. Okay, so this is going to be a frame right now for a door. So what I'm going to do is imagine this, and I can adjust this as I work along. Okay, that's going to be my frame. So to make that frame, I duplicated another piece. All right, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to scale it down a little bit like so, and then I'm going to stretch it out. I'm going to boolean that out of my frame so my frame stays consistent. So right now, since I'm scaling from the middle, this edge, well actually it's a longer rectangle. I want to get these to be sort of matched up. So I'm going to go ahead, scale down a little bit here, sort of eyeball it to where it looks pretty good. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to grab this and bring it down right to the base there so I have just the frame left, right? So that's how I'm going to make my frame. Now, to save myself time, why not duplicate this piece right here? Now I know my door, right? So even though that's going to be my bullion piece to take out from there, let me go in there really quick and let me modify that really fast, okay? So look, now I could come in here, I'm going to duplicate this, and oops, wrong piece there, and duplicate this. Bingo, that's going to be my door right there, okay? So I could scale it in. Now let's say I wanted to make 2 doors. Well, if I keep this as a measurement, I can make 1 door from here and then just repeat that one. So let me show you the method of my madness here. Okay, this is how I like to think about things when I work. So I move this over now, center my pivot using my hotkeys. I could pretty much guess, hey, that's going to be about 1 door size, and I could adjust it a little bit, duplicate the other door, but I have that for measurement right there. It's going to save me a lot of time as I'm working. Okay, let's say also in my door I'm going to have a cutout now for a window, right? So there's going to be my door. Now I'm going to duplicate this piece right here. I'm going to scale it down a little bit more. I'm going to raise the vertices up. Okay. That's going to be now my window frame for part of my window. Okay. And then I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to cut a piece out of that. So I'm going to scale that down a little bit, like so. Okay. I'm going to bring that in about right there. That's the chunk I'm going to take out of the window frame, but then I have the glass. So I'm going to take this piece right here, duplicate this, and I'm going to reuse that as a piece of glass. Scale it down just a little bit and then shrink it up like so. And so that looks a little confusing there because I have multiple parts, but let me walk you through the steps and you'll see why I'm doing that and how much time it'll save me. Okay, so let me go over here. Let me start working on the frame of the door. Okay, now there's sort of 2 approaches. I want to have a beveled edge on that door right now, that frame that I'm going to have. Well, let's see what would happen. What if I came over here? Let's say I want to bully on it and get the frame, or the thought is what should I select the edges first and then tell it to bevel the edges? So let's try that. Let me come in here. Let's select these edges. Maya has changed quite a bit. It's a lot more proficient at doing the bevel. It saves a lot of time. Okay, there we go. I selected those 3 edges. I'm going to go to Alt-B, which is my hotkey for bevel. I'm going to come over here. Let's say I'm going to put 3 edges on there, and I'm going to hit Apply. There we go. I have 3 edges in there. Nice little bevel, right? I'm going to hit Close right now. Then I can come over, select the key piece, select the door that's in the middle, hit Alt Difference, and look at that. It just took a chunk out. Now, I want to extend the lower segment here a little bit more. There we go. Now I have a nice frame. Now, on the inside, let's say I wanted a bevel there. One of the things that happens sometimes is if I try to come along here and do an edge, usually it doesn't work. So what I usually have to do is do this manually by selecting faces and extruding them. But let's try. Like I said, some of these tools have improved quite a bit in Maya. Look at that. Before, many versions ago, you weren't able to do that. Okay, so look right there. Now I have a nice, simple door frame that I can use. Okay, so while I'm making this door, why not make a window at the same time? I'm going to duplicate this. Watch. I'm going to bring this over here. I'm going to raise this up a little bit. I'm going to zoom in here, right? I'm going to take this. I'm going to raise this bottom piece right here. Bring it up here a little bit, like so. I'm going to take this. It's the exact same width, so now I can make an edge piece, right? We talked about a little edge, so I'm going to duplicate that. Bring it down. I'm going to scale it down a little bit, like so. I'm going to scale it out, maybe out a little bit more like this, like that. Scale it down. I'm going to drop it down to right there. Okay. Get it flushed up against there. I'm going to duplicate that piece, bring it down, scale it again inside a little bit more. There it goes like that. Okay. Bring it to the back like so. And then do the same thing with here. I'm just going to bring this down, Stick it in right there. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. Okay. So there, now I have a base for a window that's going. So I can do my door and window at the same time. Let's come back here to my door. Okay. So now look at what I have. Now I have the frame for my door that fits in right there, right on top of it. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead, take my frame, move it forward a little bit, and then I'm going to start working on the door now that's going to be right there. So I talked about having the door, making half the door right here, and then repeating some of the same steps I just did. I want to have a window in my door that has some type of a wrought iron going across it or some type of a decorative element in there, let's say. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to grab this window right here, this door, I'm going to bring it over here. So I'm going to have a window that's going to be right here. I also might have what's called a kicker plate. So I'm going to duplicate this piece. I'm going to bring it over here, bring it up towards the bottom, and let's go in here. Let me start working on my door. First thing I want to do, I want to bevel the outside of my door. Okay, let's say my door is going to open in the scene, so I want to have it all. I'm going to select all the edges. Let's go to bevel. I'm going to put this down to 2, not 23, 2. Hit apply right now. And look, put a real simple bevel of 2 edges around my door. That's done, right? Now, one of the problems that happens sometimes when I try to do a bullion, it doesn't work as well. That's going to be my window frame in the door, right? So I know the exact size. So what I can do now is duplicate that, bring that back here, stretch that through, select my door, okay, and there I just did a bullion. Now I made a mistake, I didn't go all the way through. There, let me stretch that out. Now it's all the way through. Select the door, select here, difference there. Now I've punched a hole for my window that's in there really easy. Now I can come over here. This is going to be my window frame right here. So I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to go to the edge right here. I'm going to select all the edges right there. I'm going to go to Alt Bevel. I'm going to put 2 on, hit apply. Okay, and I can adjust that if they're a little tiny and I want them a little rounder. I can adjust the width ratio right here. Hit apply. There it is. It's done. Okay. Now that that's done, now I'm going to come in here, right, and I'm going to bevel that out. Okay. Take that out. And then there's going to be my glass that's going to fit in the middle there. See how I did that? So there's a reason why I created all those shapes in a row, sort of talking to myself, figuring it out. That way I can make a window in a matter of minutes, and then I could reuse it to make other parts. So let me stretch my window pane up just a little bit like so. Let me pull that out. Now let's take a look at it. Let me go over here. Let's go to my rendering editor. I have some see-through glass in my hypershade. I'm going to grab it right here and drag it, drop it on the window so I get a better idea of what my window frame is looking, the glass is looking like, right? Now, let me see if I can come in here. Sometimes we get lucky with this, sometimes we don't. If I'm really up close, which I might be, I might want to put a bevel on that inside edge. Sometimes I won't notice it when I'm back here. I don't notice it at all. So it's up to you on what you want to do. Let's see if it would work. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I just have to manually extrude in the shapes and develop my own edge. There, I have that selected. Let's go to Alt B again, hit apply, and you see what happens? It just fills the hole. It doesn't like it. It doesn't want to do it. So I'm going to Command Z, hit close. So if I wanted to hit a beveled edge on that, what I would have to do is come here to face, select all the faces on the inside right here. Make sure I have nothing else selected, just that inside box. Hit extrude, so Alt D. I'm using my hotkeys here. I'm going to center my pivot, and I'm going to bring in my bevel a little bit like that. You see that? Okay. And I might bring in, since it's a rectangle, this side a little bit more, like that. And then I can hit Alt D again, center, go back, hit the key button to bring the pivot in the center. There's the pivot now. I'm going to do the same thing here. Scale that in a little bit more. Say I want to put a nice round edge on it like that. Okay, there we go. And then I look, and now I have a nice sort of rounded edge to my window there. Okay. All right, now let's say I want to put a little bit of detail going down there. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to grab that, remember that key shape I have? I can quickly manipulate it. I can touch my polygon here. I'm going to drop this down to 10. Why am I going to go to 10 right now? Because I'm going to have a much thinner polygon in there. You're barely going to see it. It's just going to be a little bit of window edge detail of some kind in there. So I want to keep my vertices low. There, that's at 10 right now, right? Nothing. I'm going to duplicate that shape, bring that over. So I still have the key shape that I can go back in there and use again. If I want, I can put that back to 20 and use it for something else. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to scale this down right now, get it a lot smaller, move it over here, bring it up. Let's jump in here. So it's really large right now, and I can still see the sides to it, which is fine. But once I get it in here and scale it down like this, you see how I'm not going to be able to see those sides anymore? It's just going to be a piece of detail sticking in my glass. There, I can see it go in the glass. A little hard to see right there. But if you look, you can see the line hitting about right there. I might need to thin down my piece of glass a little bit more, like so. What I can do is now take this. That's not really, there we go. Finally got it selected. That's about the halfway mark on that side. I'm going to grab the vertices and then just bring those to where it goes through the other side. You see that? Right there. That's it. That's my little window detail. Okay? So now I have that done. What I can do is I can thin it down a little bit here. I can start to stretch it. I'm going to get it here. Get it about in the middle. I'm just going to grab these vertices here, pull them up through the end right there, center my pivot. I'm going to get it to about right there. Then I'm going to hit Shift D. All right, Control D, first duplicate, move it to about there, then hit Shift D a couple times. That's it. Okay. And take those. And I can decide, you know, that's, let's say I want 3, I don't want 4 in there. I like working with prime numbers, so I might delete that outer one, take these 3 and group them, and then move it over just a teeny bit more like that, and duplicate that now, save myself time, right? Rotate that to 90 degrees. Now I got to be careful here. If I put too many on there, I can make it look like a prison, right? Barred windows. So what I might decide to do here is ungroup it and just put 2 like that. That looks a little bit more homey. Regroup them back together, and I'm just going to scale them in. That's it. Okay. So there I have. I'm going to select these here. I'm going to group them into their own groups so they're easy to move. I have the window glass. And if I look at everything now in see-through mode, minus this, oops, I grouped the sphere in there somehow. Let's ungroup that. There we go. So let's go here. Come on, I'm trying to unselect it. There we go. There, now my window's all one piece. It's all grouped together. Not one piece, but it's grouped together. I can move it. So if you see now, I can just slide that right into my door and just pop it out a little bit, and I have a little window in my door. Okay, if there's something I don't like about my door, let's say I want the window a little bit bigger, all right, all I got to do is come down here, go to vertice mode, grab that, stretch it up, like so, grab my window, put my window in about right here, go over here, grab the vertices, stretch them up. See that? Pretty cool. Saves myself a lot of time. I could even move these because everything's all flush and square. You see that? You just grab the vertices and move them and position them where I want them to be. That's it. That's my top of my window. It protrudes out. It's not just a flat texture. It'd be different if I was on a low-res game and I might not see it from way back, but here I might be up close. I like having that added detail. Remember I was going to make a little door plate here? Well, I'm going to make a door plate and a handle, right? So why not duplicate this? Let's bring this up right here. Let me just scale it down like this. Scale it like so, right? Get that over. That's going to be my handle plate right there. All right, let's say I want to make a, say I was going to make a door plate. We'd call it a kick plate, actually. It's just a square shape. Let's say I want a little bit of detail on that. Okay, let me move this forward, and I'm just going to save myself some time. I'm going to do this really quickly. I'm going to take my key shape over here. Again, I'm going to drop this down to, actually I'm going to keep it at 20. The reason why is it's a lot easier. I'm only going to be touching quarters of this into that. I'm going to bullion that out and have a little nudge in there. Okay. Let me get this to 90 degrees here. Let's zoom in. Let me scale this down. Let me get this over. You'll see what I'm doing right here. I'm going to get it to fit in right on the edges. So if I take a close look at it, there's the halfway mark right there. And then drag that over to the end. Get that to match up right there to that halfway mark. And I'm going to duplicate that, right? Bring that right over here to the other side right now. Do the same thing right there. That's the halfway mark there. It's already matched there. And then take these, duplicate those, bring those down, do the same thing here. Get those to match up to the halfway mark. There, that's the halfway mark right there. What I could even do right now is select these. I just combine them with my hotkey as one. Touch the key piece, touch those, and do the bullion. See how I did that really quick? I created a little Victorian plate there. Okay. Now, if I wanted to be specific, what I could have done, let's say I want to take out an inside plate here. I want to do another bullion in there. I could scale this one inside itself and cut it out, but then the curves will be different, right? Right. So watch this. I watch if I Command Z a couple steps back here to this. I take these and I duplicate these, make another copy of them, right? Take those right there. Okay. Now I take this. These are grouped. Sorry. Keep that as a backup. There, you see that? Now I'm going to take this plate and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Let's say I want it to fit in the middle, like right in here. I didn't even have to move it. I'm just scaling it down. That's right proportions. Now what I can do is take these, bring them back over. Okay. Now, I combine them. I'm going to uncombine them by coming up here really quick. Where was I had a hotkey for it and I forgot it. What am I in? I'm in surfaces, that's why. Polygons, edit, mesh, separate. Okay, there, I separated them. And delete these two, start with right here. And I do that same thing I just did. Or I'm going to take this guy right here, I'm going to bring him over. So there's my, I want to get to that edge. Bring it down halfway to where that edge sits right there. I'm going to bring this over halfway so that matches there. I'm going to duplicate that. Bring that same curve right over here. There's the halfway point. Actually, I'm on the wrong piece. There it is. Right there. Look up here. That's a halfway point there. Take these, duplicate those. Bring these down right here. Match them up. There we go. Select these. Okay, going to combine them all together. Center the pivot. Touch the piece I want. There we go. Difference. See that? Now the curves match. Because I just took the same cylinder, moved it over a little bit. The curves match. So why is that important? Because now if I want to take this and I want to do a bullion through that shape, the curves are going to match. That's why. Okay, it saves me a little bit of time. And what I would do before I did that is I would duplicate that and save that later because I might decide to use it for another piece of trim. Heck, I could take this right here, right? Say I want to make a wooden sign outside of the house. Okay, I could take this right here, watch, duplicate that, enlarge this piece a little bit, enlarge that a little bit. Look, I created another piece of real cool trim right there that I could use. Now I can make a little sign that says do not trespass. Right? There we go, raise that up a little bit. Fits in there perfect. See that? Now I have a little sign I could use. So let's come over here. I was going to use this as detail around part of my door or a kick plate, right? Actually, let's I'm going to duplicate that, have that as the kick plate itself. A little bit thinner. Then I'm going to put this on the inside of some type of trim decoration. we go. There, I have a cool little piece of trim. I could take this now. Nice little detail. I can put that over here on the door. Pop it in just a little bit like so. And grab these vertices here. Move this a little bit longer right here. Move this side over a teeny bit longer there, right? Duplicate that. Put that maybe about right there. And I can fit the handle in there. So there, now I have starting to get sort of a panel together for my door. So you guys see where I'm going, right? I'm trying to reuse whatever parts that I can over and over to make, you know, something cool. Because now I have that part I can use over, and I can look back. It's like playing with Legos, right? I can look back over, and I have another door frame right here. Let me delete this flat, move that out of the way. So now I have a door frame, and then once I get this door frame done, I move that over, okay, like so. And I have one door panel there. I just duplicate that door panel, move it over to the side. Now I have my door. And I still have the parts that I used to build all that with, okay? So, and I can do the same thing with the window. Now I could come over here. I could start putting a window together. I could put a round top of it, on top of it. And how can I get the round top? Well, that's easy. I come over here. I'm going to enlarge my cylinder. So I might adjust this, let's say, to about 30 subdivisions. I'm going to duplicate that piece. I'll bring it over here a little bit, right? Tilt it. Put it at 90 degrees. So now if I want to get that to be exact, right, I could bully on it. But if I look, you'll notice the axis in there doesn't go quite straight across. And that's because I put it at 30. So what I need to do is come over here, examine the original, zoom in there. I want to get a line. Actually, there was a line straight across. I just didn't see it. It's right there. Oh, that's because that's back at 20. No, that's at 30. Maybe I tilted it wrong. There. Watch, I can do this. Go to face here. I can select this lower row of faces. Right there. Boom. Delete all that. Come into edge. Select that edge. Fill the hole. Okay. Tilt that. Bring it over, put it up on the top here. You know what? I was off. It was not across. I was just looking at it wrong. That's my bad. Wasn't paying attention. So that's just as simple as easy as me saying, let's say maybe 31. Now I look for a line. Thought that looked like it was going. It's still not. 32. There. There's a straight line going across there now. There, select all these, delete that. Come back here, I didn't get those faces right there. They're done, edge, fill hole. That feels pretty good. Now oops, not that. Now I can enlarge this right now, and I could come in here and start manipulating it. See, now I have another piece. Now I could cut that piece out, right? I could get that to fit in there and have another round window in there if I wanted. So if I wanted to, this is a time issue. Could I model one whole window out with a round section in it? Absolutely. Would it take me a lot more time? Of course it would. It's a speed thing. Look at, I could take this little piece right here, and let's say I wanted to make a round window with a round edge. All I got to do is come in here and grab the face of this, right? Bring it down like so. See where I'm going with it? Take this, duplicate that, scale it down a little bit inside itself. Boom. There's my window frame. But what did I just do that was a mistake? I didn't duplicate the shape that I used to bully on to make the glass, right? Command Z. I'm going to reuse that piece right there. Move that over. All right. Throw that guy in there. And Scale them up just a little bit so it goes inside. There's my window. Okay, I made another window here. I had bars in it, right? Take that, duplicate that, move it to the side. Oops. Ungroup it, get rid of the frame. I want this inside part right here. And bring that over right here. Put that on this window right there and zoom in. Make sure I can see it and it's working well. There it is. That's all I need right now. Is that. And I could center it up. Now I noticed that arch is a little off there. I probably scaled it too much, but I could go back in and adjust that if I wanted to. I know where the center is there because I figured that out already before on my round shape there. Now it's matched up. So now it's just pulling points. Just take a look. So this next one, let's match it up right to that line right there. The bullion's a little bit off. That's okay. Let's go to right there. That way I can match it a little bit more. Boom, there. Drop that vertice down a teeny bit. And I can duplicate that, bring it right to the other side. Look. That was 1, 2, the third one over, 1, 2, third one over, right there. Bring that in, get that to blend in. There it is. Okay. Duplicate that, bring it down. Let's just, I could eyeball, let's say right there, Shift E. There it is. Group it. It's already together. Just grab the vertices now, pull them over. Go through that side. There we go. Pull those. Oops. Pull those through there. Bring these back a little bit where they go into the curve. There's my other window. So I just made another window. So now I have multiple windows that I could use really quickly. Okay. Okay, let's say I want to make a frame for that now. Watch, I'm going to enlarge this a little bit. Like this. Flatten it. So I have a frame there, right? Now, this is a little bit of a pain in the butt, but I'm going to switch to face mode. I'm going to select all the faces right here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in. I'm going to deselect all the ones in the middle here. Seems like it'll take me a long time, but by holding control and just dragging, take me about 40 seconds. Maybe even less. Almost done. There's when I look, now I have only the outside faces selected. And what I can do is I can just hit scale. See that? Since I selected only the outside faces, I can just instantly make, but I don't want to scale from the middle because it'll scale it out from all directions. But I can use these. I can scale up and then I can scale out a little bit more like that. And I just created a really sweet looking frame for my window. See that? There it is. So now I have a window, I have that. Oh, I want to put a ledge on it. Didn't I just make a ledge before? Yeah, I did right here. I didn't finish my ledge. Let's duplicate these, right? Bring them over here. I'm going to select this one right here. Let's put a lip on it. One thing about beveling an object, putting a nice edge on it, is make sure your object is in the key position. Once you bevel it, you don't want to move it because you're moving the vertices around and it could alter the way the object looks once those vertices get in there. Let's say I have that. It's pretty cool and it extends forward. I'm going to leave this one. Let me just grab the face below and we'll just bring it down a little bit like so. And we'll just bring these edges back a little bit. There. Have something that looks cool. They're different shapes. Right, select this. Right click, let's go to edge. Select these edges right here, go to Bevel, bring it up. Let's put 3 on these so it's really nice. Okay, let's do the same thing right here. We're only going to need to do, I'll just do the, I don't even need all those, I just need the outside. But if I want to reuse that, I can. Hit apply there. Now there it's a lot more rounder because it was a different shape. So I'm going to go back and adjust the width ratio. That's a little too much. Boom, that's perfect. Come back in here. Oops, right click. Go to edge. Select those edges, hit apply. A little bit wider. There we go. Now I have a nice beveled edge. Group these together. Bring them up there, and there's my window. There, so I have one window I just made really quickly. I have a door that I've made that I can reuse right here. Okay, I can reuse that window right there. I can turn it sideways and use it as a window in like a cellar, or there could be like the basement windows around. Okay, all that's just done really quickly. This is how I made all of my windows. This window back here, it's the same way. I can reuse this window if I want to reuse anything in there. I just duplicate it. I bring it over. I hit ungroup. Okay, I can have the intersection that I can ungroup. I can take the window itself out. I can ungroup that, break it down into shapes, take those out, reuse them. So just, you know, think smart, model smart. Start with your windows, get your windows done, and then what we'll do when we meet next week is I'll talk about making the roof, making the tile, and making the little edge details, the molding that goes around the side. The molding's really, in fact, I'll just do the molding right now. This is how simple molding is. Okay, if I come back over here, I look at my key shapes. I accidentally grabbed one of my key shapes. I'm just going to create a new one. Look, this is how you do molding super quick. Look, we have a cube. Wow. We're going to take a sphere. Wow. Excuse me, a cylinder. The one secret you need to remember about doing the edge molding is that that molding is going to be a lot smaller. Okay, but we need the right amount of curves to go in there so it curves nice and smoothly. But we can also use the smooth tool. So I'm just going to take this right now. I'm going to drop this down to, let's say, 10. That's maybe a little too jagged. Let's try maybe 13. I always have luck with prime numbers. There we go. I'm going to stretch that piece out there. Let's bring it up a little bit. Get it to about the halfway mark right there. And then let me grab the vertices of that guy. Let's bring them over a teeny bit right there. There we go. There's my molding. You don't see it yet. Then let me bring it over. Once I take that guy and I turn him like this, get him at 90 degrees. Okay. I can grab the vertices in the back there. Bring those forward. There's my molding. Okay, and if I smooth them, look, it gets all crazy because there's no edge, right? But if I come in here and I do this, and now I smooth it. Hold on, let me come back. It's not bad. It gets. I need to fix a little something there. It's overlapping, and I could fix the back. Let's just do that real quick. Actually, won't do it because I bouilloned it, and then I had put the bevel in there. But if I went in there and put the edges in there, it'd be fine if I smoothed it. But you know, I don't even need to smooth it though, because look, when I take a look at that and I put that into the side of the house or the side of a window, and it's a little edge, all I'm going to see is that right there. And once I pull back and look at it, it's just so I can see that there's a curve in there and it renders with the curve in. That's it. I don't need to have, you know, 50 vertices in there to get that little round edge. I don't. That's overkill. Okay, so, you know, that's the basics right there. If I display, let's show all. And then display, let's hide our lights. Lights. That's how I got to that right there. Okay, piece at a time. But those doors made those doors, which made part of those windows, you know, and so on. Now, this is a little different. When you want to get into some trim detail like this, that has to be a NURB shape because it has a curve in it. It doesn't always have to be NURB. You could do it out of poly, but you have to do it really smart, where you take a series of NURB shapes and you can loft them as a poly, and then take the poly, so when you hit the smooth button, it creates a nice rounded edge. I just used NURBs at the time because when I made this set back in the day, our smooth option wasn't as great as it is now. It's changed dramatically over the past numerous versions of Maya, especially with the advent of metal ray. So things have gone in your benefit, especially with a lot of people moving towards polyproxy and, you know, polygonal modeling really makes a difference. Okay, so all right, so we'll leave it there, and then I'll come back. We'll talk about, remind me next class, we'll talk about putting some edge trim on, like little arches. We'll talk about how to do the roofs. That's just a simple NURB plate right there. Oops, let me zoom into it. Really simple, stacked on top. Now I could use a texture, but from up close and from lighting, you're not going to be able to grab edges like that. And I really wanted that edge feel of old tile. When I look at Victorian houses, they have a very distinct feeling to the edge of that tile, and I wanted that to pop in there. We'll talk about doing that. And then some of this, look at that. That's just a stylized detail, just beveled edge with a hole through it. When you go look at Victorian architecture, remember, go back to our reference, pull some of this up, come back down in here, take a look at some of this little ornate detail. You can put these little round edges, whatever it might be. You'll see it in here. Look, they have a little gate there going along the top of it. It's easy. You can make that gate. You only have to make 2 pieces. And you just duplicate the rest of it, right? This would be nice. Look at this little arch in here with the little round things in there. But I wouldn't put so many that close. I'd spread them out a little bit, simplify a little bit so you don't kill, you know, or have too large of a model in there, okay? Take a look. All that reference is there to guide you through. Look at those round windows. Look at how nice those are up there. That could be a texture that's just in there, you know, that you could just place inside there. But, you know, look at this ornate, you know, look at little columns here. Even though they're cube in shape, they have these little edges. Everything has edges, secondary edges, you know, little trim detail. This has shutter doors on the windows. Okay, then we'll talk about the roof next class. All right, and go ahead and end it right there. Thanks, guys.